Hello, my name's Tom Carhill. It's 14:53 on Wednesday, the 22nd of March 2017. Right, well, yesterday I put a video up, or I saw a comment on a video, and it mentioned Belinda McKenzie having been arrested, right? Now, I don't believe I've ever mentioned this particular website before, but somebody who comments quite a lot on my videos and stuff, and I think believe maybe emailed me and stuff a few times, said, well, where's the evidence? Can't find any evidence for this. Now, there isn't necessarily going to be any evidence, obviously, or evidence that you can just find easily about this type of thing. However, the next day someone put a link to this site called hoaxteadresearch.wordpress.com. Now, one of the things you've got to be careful of is if you're paying attention to people. I mean, I've explained the problem with this Belinda McKenzie in the past, and all the people who she's linked to, I've mentioned them all probably. But you see, the thing is that there's two options with this thing to do with this Hoaxtead site, right? Hoaxtead, like with the Madeleine McCann hoax, right? You've got people who are saying, she got abducted, it's a fact. Anyone who thinks she didn't needs to be put in a mental asylum, despite the fact there's no evidence, and it would be very unlikely. Then you've got the people who look into it a bit more, and they say, well, they had a kid, the kid went missing, or allegedly went missing, the chances are they probably killed it or something, so, they're the ones to look at, and that will be, I suppose, like some people use like box 1, box 2 and box 3. Box 1 is the initial load of lies. Box 2 is the other side of the Hegelian dialectic, which is box 2, which is countering the thesis, it's the antithesis. But what you never get anybody mentioning is, well, this is just probably completely made up. And in the terms of the Hoaxtead research, right, Hoaxtead research very plainly is the other side of the Hegelian dialectic, yeah? Just saying that the people who said that there's something going on there must be mad. But the truth is, from what we know, we can't really actually see anything that disproves or proves anything. It all just seems like both, that there isn't any evidence, is what I'm trying to say. You're just taking their word for it that there's evidence, and every single bit. I mean, you've got like children talking on videos. Well, the children could have been coached. They could be telling the truth, or they could just be, being told just say this as part of an, and then they're just doing it as part of an operation. So there's no actual way that any of us can actually prove that those children were abused by a satanic cult, or that they were abused into saying that they were in a satanic cult. But when you see all of the people involved with it, we know that they're the standard hoax people right now. So there's another option. Hampstead Heath, I'm told, is where the word heathen comes from, because heathens were like people who hanged around on Hampstead Heath. I don't know if that's true, but I've heard that. And I know that you've got people like Karl Marx buried in Hampstead, or, sorry, it's Highgate, isn't it? But that's basically Hampstead, yeah, it's right next to it. And you've got, it's nowadays it's populated by lots of homosexuals, but lots of people go there. It's actually nice. It's a nice place, and it's very big as well. So like you can have 20. You could go on 20 different sort of afternoons out walks or whatever. You go to different parts. You wouldn't even know you're in the same place. Very big, nice park, very nice. Anyway, the point is, Belinda McKenzie could be involved with this, because there is actually something going on, and they just want to stick this on top of it to just completely destroy any way that anybody can find out what's going underneath it. It's just like a blocking mechanism. Or it could be that there isn't anything going on, but they've just thought they'll bring this out as a result, just to cause a sort of satanic panic, a fake satanic panic type thing. But then there's another sort of option which isn't mutually exclusive to those two ideas, which is that if there is, like I said, if there is something going on, or if there isn't something going on in this specific instance, they very likely chose Hampstead as a place to stage one of these hoaxes, if it is a hoax, right? Because there is stuff going on there, or there is stuff going on in the country, and once in a while they just want to put some white noise out there. You know, counterintelligence, yeah? So the thing with it is that whenever you've got a website that just pops up saying it's a hoax already, when there isn't really any evidence saying it's definitely a hoax, and it's already sort of got like a whole load of administrators who are all calling themselves silly names. Things like they're called like, let me bear with me, sorry. Oh no, Al Coyote, yeah, that's one of them. And there's another one called like Scoop, something Scoop, Vanilla Scoop or something. They're all, that's it, a Scarlet Scoop, right? Right, now what has... That wolf one didn't used to be the same picture. This Scarlet Scoop, it's just like a sort of trendy little name that you'd use to, say, sell coffee or something. You know, you could put that little sign on coffees if you had your own little independent coffee shop, couldn't you? You could get your merchandise. They don't give their real names. They slag off lots of people who do give their real names. In fact, you know, Belinda Mackenzie is called Belinda Mackenzie, right? Sabine McNeil is called Sabine McNeil, and they're slagging them off. But it's like, hang on a minute, you don't, for all we know, you know, like, well, we know, they're counterintelligence operatives themselves. They clearly are. It's the other part of the Hegelian dialectic. Once you know Belinda Mackenzie's only involved in bad stuff, and she's constantly tricking people, all you need to do is, you know, put the word out. That's pretty much all you can do about it. I mean, you could pressure the police to criminally charge her, but, you know, like, in terms of what's reasonable, fair and reasonable, the most really can be asked of you is to put some information out about this. If people care to, you know, buyer beware, if they want to do any research, then they'll find it, and it'll give them some questions, and it will fast track them to understanding she's very bad news. But you see, these people don't do that. They literally want to spend what would probably be like almost like a full-time job just endlessly going on about sort of white noise. So they fight white noise with white noise, create more white noise, and then someone like me has people endlessly saying to me, what do you think about the Hampstead thing? And it's like, you're just like, what? You want me to look into it, and I don't know what you're going to say about it, but I've got to agree with your theory, even though it's all based on speculation on speculation on speculation on speculation, which is all coming from known, obvious counter-intel people. You see, it's completely idiotic, and it's very, very similar to this Pizzagate. I don't even like the words, you know what I mean? It's these silly catch-all phrases that they put out there for slobs, and they are slobs, to tune into, and they're like, oh yeah, it's a thing, it's the this thing, and it's the that thing, and it's like, they can't actually bother to think what they're actually talking about, and when they ask you a question, it's not even a genuine question, because what they're doing is they're going to try and get you, they don't put enough words in their question, if you like, to ask you what they want. They just want you to go, yeah, I think it's true. But I mean, what's true? You see what I mean? It's slobs, and with all of the people who get caught up with these sort of this just complete distraction white noise, right, they start doing things like adding you to Facebook groups. Like on here, right, you've got where is it? You've got Hampstead. Give me a second. I won't talk for a second. Just let. Hoaxtead. Oh no, Hampstead. Yeah, see, the very first one on Hampstead is Hampstead Whistleblower Kids. I don't know, there's a Hampstead group or something. Hampstead group? No, I don't know. Anyway, they kept adding me to stupid group, right? And I don't know how to stop any. I think there's a way of stopping people adding you it. And you've just constantly got people telling you about this idiotic nonsense about just speculation on speculation on speculation. And it's like, do you believe the children? Do you believe Do I believe what about them? Do I believe... It's just stupid. It's complete nonsense, because those children could just be told to act, or they could be generally telling the truth, or how on earth can you possibly know? And also, if there was really a cover-up of a satanic ring, right, yeah, those children wouldn't, and the videos would get, they say, oh, it can never ever be taken down off the internet. Yes, it can. It could be taken down straight away. The whole lot would just be taken down. So anyone who goes, oh, no, they can't take it all down. Yeah, they can. They can take it down straight away. And if these children were a problem, they would be an ex-problem. They'd be dissolved in acid baths. That would be it. So it's clear that the whole thing is clearly a contrivance, right? But you see, for me, I know it's bad news and it's brain rot and you should stay away from it. But people endlessly want to get sucked into it. And so, as I said, this is a little bit of an update. I don't want to go on about it too much, but I get really sick when I get slobs. And they are slobs. And if you're a slob who writes things like, what do you think about the Hampstead thing? And you actually expect somebody then to spend like 15 minutes typing a great big long response to explain it. You know, it's not really fair. I'm sure we've all done it in the past. But it's almost like they want you to second guess what they think, and for all you know, they might have only spent 10 minutes reading up on it, or they might be one of these psychos who spends like every single day of the week reading this complete nonsense on Hoaxtead research. The other thing with Hoaxtead research is the people on there, right? They, like I've said, they will slag off people who use their real names. Like, I don't know why. I don't know why they've said... But I know, for instance, they were mentioned Deborah Williams. When it was very first set up, that site, so I looked at it once time. And, because, again, I kept getting links to it and stuff. People telling me to look at it and asking me questions on this. And they were saying... I looked on it, and it was saying Tom Cahill is a neo-Nazi and using various profanities about me and stuff. And they were also saying, and he's completely mental, and blah, 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 blah. Now, I know what that is. That is, I mean, often it's because they're Jews, right? Often the counterintelligence people are Jews, right? Now, and Hampstead's up where Puddick lives, and we know that's a big hub of them. They're professionally working up there full-time to do disinformation. We know that. That's a fact, yeah? Right? So, a lot of them live up... So they very well might actually be based in or near Hampstead, this lot who set this site up. We could probably easily find out, but it's not really important. He also has people working in Ireland for him, like Kieran Goggins and stuff. But you see, the thing is that I don't really care people slagging me off. That doesn't bother me. Because, again, it just shows their weakness. And especially, I don't want to be one of these people who says, oh, they're hiding me on a keyboard. But, frankly, if you're going to spend... weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, every week, loads and loads and loads of time putting together written material which is fairly well edited and all that stuff about some load of cranks, and surely you're a crank yourself. Do you see what I mean? It gets to a point where, you know, everything has to be in balance. Do you see what I'm trying to say? It's like if you got annoyed that there was litter on the street and you cleaned the place up yourself. Yeah, well, fair enough, you might think, right, but if the next day people just went and threw all litter down and the street was all full of litter, what are you going to do? Spend your entire life going around cleaning all the litter up in your street instead of going to work? You see what I mean? It doesn't make sense. It's if you just do a video like what I'm doing and it finishes and that's it, you post it, you get back to a few comments, you know, yes, fair enough, I've spent probably more time, unfortunately, having to think about this because people keep going on about it. But the point is, it's very much contained. You see, I'm not editing these videos. These videos just go up, I do them, and that's it, you know. Then they get posted. I don't mess around putting them through rendering software and that. Very rarely do I ever actually have to do that. Camera's not working today, so that's why I've got this screen up. But the point is, with these people, they were actually also slagging off, right? Someone like this woman called Deborah Williams, who had this website for a while called the Kent Freedom Movement, yeah? So she was involved with that, and now it's on Facebook. And, you know, I know them quite well, and there's Eddie Boyce is also involved with that, yeah? And the thing is they were saying that she's some kind of crank, and some kind of, it was, but in a pejorative way. They weren't just going, "Oh, she's a loony" or something. But they don't say why. Do you see what I mean? So these people are fixated with labels. Now, if you're a genuine academically interested person, or someone who's really concerned about, getting some kind of truth out or saving people from harm, you don't just start slagging people off and calling them names without explaining it. And you see what I'm trying to say? You don't rush to labels. If these people are well aware that Belinda McKenzie is all involved with hoaxes and counterintelligence, why don't they just say that, make it nice and to the point, and stop reporting her saying she's been arrested as though it's actually happened? Because she's constantly lying. She's lied about lots of stuff with this case. She said it was a closed hearing. It wasn't a closed hearing, and she was outside picketing saying it shouldn't be a closed hearing when it allegedly was a closed hearing. But again, we don't know, because these people are a load of liars. The court doesn't not know she's there. She is working with people in agents who are behind, who have got some connection to running how that case is going to go. The whole thing could well be made up. This lot make up court cases. They have contrived court cases in the past. This is an absolute fact. And yet, these people should think, well, hang on a minute. Bill Maloney was going around terrorising people claiming they'd been victims of child abuse, along with Ian Puddick and this guy called Chris Fay, and he's linked to Belinda McKenzie. Right, so why would it be in their interest to say Tom Cahill's a neo-Nazi and Deborah Williams is just a complete nutter and can't be trusted because of her bad associations or something? I don't believe she's got any bad associations. Do you see what I'm trying to say? It doesn't make any sense. It's not me saying that person's bad because they lie about stuff. That person's bad because they mislead people. It's saying that person is a this, but it's not like a counterintelligence operative. It's not a con man who steals money off people. It's always just like meaningless labels for slobs to pick up on, because slobs are impressed by labels. They don't like to think, and that's what they're doing. So you can be absolutely sure this Hoaxtead research is just a spoke in the counterintelligence programme, but in terms of anything related to Hampstead, it's definitely propping up the Belinda McKenzie thing. They're working with them. They are working with them. They're working with them. And they're, by inference, they're actually implying that Belinda McKenzie has been arrested, and Belinda McKenzie can get arrested 100 times a week. But we know this is all done with the state's complicity. There are agents of the state involved with this. So it doesn't actually matter. She could even get sentenced and go to prison. Doesn't mean she's gone to prison. They just say that she has. And what you'll find is, let's say when Chris Spivey had his court case, you had a load of people going there, numbering about 10. But then when the actual reports came out about it, outside, you had Nick Colostrom, and he was just talking a load of rubbish about this Chris Spivey had been charged with. And it's still not clear whether it was malicious communications, harassment, and really where was the sort of nub of the issue. If you've assaulted somebody, where did it become assault? Did it become assault because you walked past someone in the street and you sort of slightly knocked into them, and then they shouted something at you and you pushed them, and then they punched you and you hit them with a stick? You see what I mean? There's a kind of sequence of very clear events. This is how it happened, or this is how we think it might have happened, and this is where the person went wrong. There was none of that. And he was talking about malicious communications. Well, if he's been done for harassment, it's not going to be harassment and malicious communications. You see what I mean? The whole story had too many holes in it. I don't know what happened, but the whole thing is completely suspect. Yet they all go along there, and then they just come out the other end, and nobody's any the wiser. So you see, a lot of these people are so stupid, even if they go to the trouble of going to a court case, they don't, or they do something like wait outside the court case with a big flag saying something about thermite or something on 9/11. Don't go in, or they go into the court hearing, and they don't know what's going on, and you know, it's just the blind leading the blind. You've got a load of freaks going round, confusing themselves, confusing everybody else, and you know, people have really got to get out of this habit, because they genuinely think that by going along with any nonsense that's pre-packaged and flies out the internet at them, within a week, 90% of the people who think that they're, you know, really clever for not watching telly and researching stuff, it's like a pre-packaged load of propaganda goes out to them, and they've got an even narrower scope of what they're actually looking at than what you would have if you watched the telly and read the newspapers and listened to the radio, and you know, and you know, went on main online sources. You'd probably pick more up from that than you would. I don't know. It's almost like they've been funneled into an even narrower-minded view of things than what they had before. And you know, a lot of people say, "Well, where's the answers?" You're criticising, but where's the answers? But you see, the thing is, with the alternative media, as it's called, as it calls itself, there often aren't answers. But the whole point is, you know, enlightenment is all about knowing you don't know, isn't it, really? And knowing, well, that's definitely not true. I don't know what is true. Like, you know, we know basically most of science is just made up. But I know that. But, you know, when someone says, go on, tell me the world is flat. You know, the world is flat. Is it round? Well, it could be a circle. Or, you know, but then why aren't we all flying off it? You know, at what point in gravity do things get pulled together? And at what point of mass, or, you know, the disparity between the two objects or whatever, what is it that then starts making them spin around each other? And on top of that, if you could harness that energy, well, surely you could probably, you could do anything. You could move like massive objects, like a whole planet, couldn't you? Because there'd be this disparity, and somehow you switch it, because of course if you get this idea that something gets to a certain mass, all of a sudden it starts getting a noticeable pull to other things, but then it gets to another size and all of a sudden it starts spinning around suns at like 666 miles an hour or some other Masonic number. You know, it's the same kind of thing. I don't know. I don't think anybody I know knows, but they want you to come to a definite conclusion. And the whole idea of coming to definite conclusions is all part of a scam. Yeah, it's like if I don't want to buy a new second-hand car off somebody, I might know I don't want to buy it, but don't be telling me that I have to make an explanation of my decision, because what will happen is you'll end up getting a kind of lazy or either unmotivated or pragmatic procrastination type answer, because I don't necessarily know. Maybe if somebody asked me a year later or 2 years later, why didn't you buy that car? I might have thought why it was, but often it's just a feeling you get, you know. And you know, if you've got to trust your intuition to an extent, but that is totally different from when you've got a counterintelligence operation with loads of counterintelligence people with a standard counterintelligence format with two narratives, because people can't deal with more than two narratives, and then they're using their emotive, or you know, what they consider intuition, to decide which piece of shit they're gonna, you know, use to cook up as their dinner. It's idiotic. They know it's bad. They know you got to stay away from it. You stay away from it. That's how you've got to be. And they get on these blogs and stuff, which are written by counterintelligence operatives, who will block you or slag you off and say you're a Nazi if you don't go along with them. They get on there, they stay on there, and they just. Do you see what I'm trying to say? It's like they've got actual. They're being controlled. So, like for instance, the whole Hampstead hoax thing, right? Yeah, or Hampstead truth or false paradigm, that actually sucks loads of people in, and it can all be controlled by about 10 people, or probably less. And they're all in there. They're all being watched. They're probably studying them to see how stupid they are, and how, you know, what things make them tick and stuff. And they just get stuck in there, and when I keep anything I hear about that nonsense about, what do you think of the Hampstead thing? It really, and then it's like, Belinda McKenzie has been arrested. It's irrelevant anyway, because she's working either for or with the consent of the government. She is, it's a fact. They let her steal a load of money out of a charity. She was banged to rights. It can't happen. That can't happen. She's obviously connected. Cannot happen. And then there's people talking about her how she's, got arrested, like as though it even matters. It's just like, we've already established she's a thief, yet she's allowed to steal. She's a counterintelligence operative. It's as futile as going down the, can you prove she's an intelligence operative? How? Where is it documented? It's like, what do you mean documented? They don't document that they're counterintelligence operatives, because of course it's not documented, because that's the whole point of it. If you're a secret agent, nothing gets written down, or it gets written down, but you're not allowed to see it. And if it accidentally leaked out somewhere, it would be deleted. So it just gets back into the slob mentality of non-think, and that's what happens. So my name's Tom Carhill. I'll put a link in the description to this site and this alleged news, which I don't recommend you have a look to, but it's brain rot. I mean, even down to these silly little, if you don't give yourself a little, what they call an avatar, like a little picture, they'll give you one of these silly little photos. Well, if you're talking about somebody accusing a load of people in an area of being, satanic pedos, right? Or you believe that there's satanic pedos in an area, what would possess you to have these silly little faces? You see, it's even stuff like that. If you were doing it for a good motive and you were taking yourself seriously to put this stuff up on a website, you would not allow that kind of sloppy, slob-like inappropriateness on your site. It's not what a competent, kind of fact-driven person would allow. It just wouldn't happen. It's like going to a funeral in fancy dress. And, it wasn't... I don't know. Yeah, it just makes no sense. It's not something you should do. It's an alarm bell. It's just a load of alarm bells all the way through. And with a lot of these things, if somebody can't immediately say, oh, we actually did this because of this, we're going to change it, or we're going to do that. If they can't explain it, just cross them off the list. Say, no. It doesn't make sense. So just trust your instincts, get rid of it. Anyway, my name's Tom Carhill. It's 15:20 on Wednesday, the 22nd of March, 2017, and I'd like to hear what you think about. Well, I don't actually want to know what you think about this. No, I don't. Not really. I'm just putting it out there, just because then I can sort of give people a link and I won't have to talk about it again. Because I do find it actually very annoying when people they want to suck you into. They've got all these topics, yeah. All of the topics are run by different counter-intels. They want to suck you in, and they go, oh, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And it's just like, you lazy cunt. All of these co-intel pros are all linked to each other, and you can't even be bothered. You can't even be bothered to do any research yourself, because whenever I do research, I always find it really quite easy to find things about these people. It's not that hard, and I can find source information which nobody else has mentioned, and then everyone goes, how do you know, where's the links? And I've got all the links, and I've given them the links. They go, no, that's not evidence. How does that evidence prove the evidence? Like, people setting up shell companies and stuff like that, dissolved companies, and claiming they're sort of a charity. All of this stuff, it is very, very, very annoying. And, or they say something like, they're exposing somebody, and it's like, what have they exposed? They've just said someone on the TV who's been accused in the papers of possibly being linked to something is possibly linked to something. It is absolutely inane, and I get very annoyed. Well, if I allow it, I just basically write the people off. But, if I allow it to annoy myself, it does annoy me. Anyway, so thanks very much. Let me know if you've got any little pointers, you can redirect me somewhere maybe, yeah? Okay, thanks a lot. Okay, no, that didn't stop it.